like, oh, what men want is like a meek little sweet baby girl.
Skinny girl, just cutie girl who likes children's books and also acts like a child a little bit.
Welcome to Rom-Com Vom, a Sex Ed with DB podcast series where in every episode we go under the covers with a beloved rom-com, strip away its hidden toxic messages, and rewrite the script on love and sex. Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 11, oh my God, of Sex Ed with DB. And we are doing an entire season of Rom-Com Vom with some bonus episodes peppered throughout, answering your sex ed questions throughout the season. But on our first episode of season 11 of Rom-Com Vom, to kick us off, we're welcoming back my amazing mom, who's been on every single season since the beginning of this frickin' show. She's an OBGYN. She lives in Napa. Listen, she's been my mom my entire life. Okay. Dr. Rebecca Levy-Gantt, welcome to Rom-Com Vom.
Thank you. I have been your mom your entire life. And that,
in fact,
that gives me a lot of credibility here.
A ton. You're the reason why this entire show exists, essentially, is because you created me.
True.
We're going to start off with a trivia teaser. Today, we are discussing a film where hidden cameras and 4 a.m. shoots were the only way to make it happen, until one crucial scene with thousands of onlookers nearly got the entire production shut down. Stick around after the break for the whole story. In a world that constantly encourages you to change, it's bold to just be yourself. Sexual expression and satisfaction are different for everybody, so rather than conforming to others, focus on falling in love with who you are. Lion's Den sources the very best products to help you find what you like, and to help you feel confident expressing your sexual desires. You can get 15% off in-store and online using code SEXEDWITHDB at lionsden.com to begin exploring everything about yourself. Follow them on social at Lions Den Adult on Instagram and TikTok.
Are you tired of waiting for sparks to fly on your dating app? Do you dream of running through airports to deliver an out-of-breath, unplanned monologue? Then stop doom scrolling and start listening to Meet Cute Rom-Coms. Feel-good love stories that take you from chance encounter to grand romantic gesture in just 15 minutes. We're bringing rom-coms back. Get a brand new Meet Cute series on the first Tuesday of every month, with new episodes twice a week. Fall in love with Meet Cute Rom-Coms, wherever you find your podcasts.
Is this where we kiss?
Welcome back. Mom, can we get a drum roll for today's film?
Can you hear me?
A very light drum roll. Today, we're reviewing the amazing and iconic Notting Hill. Mom, are you excited to review this movie?
I was excited when you asked me to watch it again because I would watch it without you asking me.
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie.
It is so good. I honestly, during the rewatch, I was concerned that we would not have enough content to actually critique this film because it is so spectacular. And I just think the writing is great. The acting is great. It's so British and so charming. And I'm really excited to get into it with you. But a quick refresh, if you haven't watched it lately, here it is. Hugh Grant plays William Thacker, a London bookshop owner whose life changes when famous American actress Anna Scott, played by Julia Roberts, walks into his shop. Their chance encounter sparks an unlikely romance that challenges both of their worlds. And if you're wondering about those 4 a.m. shoots, we will tell you more at the end of the episode, so stick around. Mom, we're going to get started with our segment that we call As a Kid, which this movie came out, I think, in 99 or something.
99. Yep,
99.
Yep.
So you weren't exactly a kid, but you were youthful. You were younger when you first saw this film. Tell me about what you remember of it before the rewatch. What was your kind of memory and feeling about Notting Hill?
I remember I was pregnant.
Oh my God, with
your
me
brother,
or with Jake?
No, your brother was born in 1999.
Oh yeah, duh. 99 with my
You know
little
when you were
brother.
born. Let me remind you.
I was very confused for a moment. I just wanted to put myself in the main character of the narrative. Okay, 99 once again. Okay, you're pregnant with Dylan, my little brother. Continue.
I remember watching this movie and my initial reaction, of course, because at that time, pregnancy, hormones, etc., Hugh Grant, just beautiful.
Oh my God,
Just
I love
beautiful.
him.
Of course, there were nothing had been known about his future escapades by then, because there were many things that have happened to kind of make you feel maybe he's not so beautiful. But in this movie, gorgeous man.
Yes, agreed. And what you're referring to is that he cheated on his wife with a sex worker? Is that correct?
That, and also some other things, just, they found him kind of passed out somewhere one day. Some things that we've heard, but I tended to ignore all of those things because of this movie. Okay. The other thing that I was thinking now is that your stepdad and I have been to Notting Hill many times.
Oh my God.
And we always came away from there going, if there was someplace in London that we want to be, that's it.
Oh, it's very charming. It's very quaint.
Yeah. We actually took a picture in the area, not exactly where the Blue Door was, because I know that that's a real place, but I don't know if it was really there, but like we captioned the picture at the time, and it wasn't in 1999, obviously it was much later, but we captioned it like, anyone seen Hugh Grant around?
Oh, so it was a little nostalgic for you and your relationship, which is very sweet. What scene would you say like defines this movie for you? What's like the major thing that feels like when you think about this film, this is what you're thinking about?
The unfortunate thing is that I think about a part of it that's probably for me the worst part of the movie.
Okay.
Because the dialogue at the end, sorry if we're ruining it for anyone.
Oh no, it's been 26 years, please.
The dialogue at the end when she walks in and she goes, "I'm just a girl."
Standing in front of
a boy, asking him to love her.
Yes.
It's like, okay, you're a goddamn movie star. How real.
Are you serious?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yes, he's beautiful, but you're a movie star making millions of dollars.
Correct.
I don't really think you need to stand in front of anyone and ask them for anything.
Like he's actually on his knees begging for you, basically. That is correct. That is absolutely the scene that defines this movie. And yeah, I just feel like it's such a famous line. Like people say that kind of all the time, but we're going to get into that in a little bit of kind of this idea of like, we need to kind of like lower down successful women in order for them to feel approachable, right? Of her needing to say, I'm just like you, stars, they're just like us, right?
Yeah,
of like,
okay, not.
Exactly. Like, I'm just a simple girl and I just want you to love me. Like, very sweet, very romantic, but at the same time, she is one of the most famous women, presumably, and she doesn't really need to kind of dumb herself down to do that.
I didn't like that about it. And I didn't like about her. Also, there was another line that she said, like, do you think I could stay for a little while with you or
a long time? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, why are you acting like a mouse? Like, that's not attractive about you.
Oh my God, Mom, welcome to Rom-Com Vom. I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, so before the rewatch, we had you do a rating of like what you thought this movie deserved from 1 to 5 voms. 1 vom, it's dated, but it's mostly harmless. 5 voms, kind of full body cringe, burn all the DVDs that exist and VHSs of this film. What did you rate it before the rewatch?
Probably a 1, because I had such good feelings about it from before.
I agree. I couldn't quite, I feel like I've seen this movie a few years ago. And so I, at the time, was just kind of like, oh yeah, like I remember seeing this before the rewatch and I thought it was pretty harmless. Like I'm going to rate it a 1 as well. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our major segment of the show called That's Problematic, where we talk about 1 or 2 or even 3 if we have time, pieces of the film where we kind of want to delve a little bit deeper as to like what is wrong with kind of the tropes that are playing out over and over again in these rom-coms. And so the first bucket that I want to go over is kind of this idea that you just mentioned of like the taming of a successful woman, right? So like just to give some color to that, Anna's character arc really involves her essentially like submitting to a simpler life, right? To like be with him. At the end, we kind of get 2 pieces of that where like she, is seen with paparazzi on a red carpet and he's there and he's kind of out of his element. But then we see her, pregnant on a park bench and they're living kind of a simpler life. And it kind of is reinforcing this idea, right? That like successful women need to somehow compromise their careers potentially for love. And it never really kind of questions whether William should really like adapt to her world. It's always about like, how can the woman fit into his world? Any kind of general thoughts about that?
Yeah, there were definitely two things that I could really pick out of this movie that I thought, I'm not liking this. Okay.
Sure.
And one of them was the fact that every movie she seemed to be doing was just fucking ridiculous.
That's
Why is she in outer space? Why is she's sexily looking at the camera and puts on her space helmet?
Right.
You know? And it's like, can't she be in like a good, nice, smart movie? And then in the other one, she has to be like in the old West or whatever she was doing. Like,
right.
And she was talking to a guy, like, he's the worst guy in the world. And I just felt like, give me a good movie. Give me some proof that she's really a good actress in a good piece of work, you know?
You wanted the movie within a movie to be better.
Yes, just because I'm like, he's looking at her on the screen in that astronaut costume. And I'm thinking, oh, yes, I can see why he just fell in love with her.
I mean, further proof, right, that like we don't get to know women's. Well, it's ironic, right? Because like we do kind of get to know Julia Roberts' character, Anna's personality in this, where most other rom-coms, it's really about just how she looks and kind of assuming that the man falls in love with her based on nothing other than her looks, where we do kind of get, she's like pretty fiery, right? Like she goes up to that table when they're talking shit on her and she says like, you guys probably have dicks the size of peanuts, right? Yeah. She's like messing with them because they're calling her a sex worker basically, and objectifying her. But we do kind of get to know her personality as Anna.
I think part of her personality was a little problematic because when all the paparazzi showed up at her door, I thought, and she was so like shocked and angry and yelled at him. I thought that was like really out of control of her, kind of like, aren't you used to paparazzi showing up everywhere? It's not like they were hiding in the house. You know, they went places, they did things. Obviously, people knew she was there.
Right.
So, of course, it came out that somebody said something about her being there who shouldn't have said it. But you know, when there's a lot of paparazzi, she loves him. She just slept with him. Why did she start screaming at him? And she acted like a real bitch. And I thought it was very
Mom.
She did. I mean, isn't she used to paparazzi following her everywhere? Yes, I understand that's why she wanted to be away from them. But the fact that they showed up, this is the one guy that's like obviously doesn't even care who she is or her fame. And she really yelled at him enough that I thought, oh, she's a bitch. He should leave her.
Well, later in the movie, he kind of says, like, besides your insane temper or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of felt for her because it felt like she really found like a safe haven after the nudes were leaked. This is actually the next part of That's Problematic that I wanted to talk to you about, is this like kind of casual sexism in how Anna's like past nude photos and videos are handled, right? Because the film frames it as like she should be ashamed. This is her problem, rather than addressing the fact that she even mentions like someone was filming without my consent and now they're saying it was a porno. And I just feel like this is exploitation, and it's just a frustrating moment that women in particular go through all the time. This idea of revenge porn.
This is 1999, before social media.
Right.
Now, this is kind of a problem that is out there everywhere.
Yes.
And people have to feel like anyone could get pictures of them, make pictures of them, pretend pictures of them.
With AI now?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's almost as if like her saying that, looking at it from this year, you look back and just go, yeah, that is a problem for everyone. Not that it's not bad that happened to her, but that's universal now, you know.
Yes.
And it's still in a way that when people know that somebody put pictures out of somebody, there are people that will still say, well, you shouldn't have been with that person, or you shouldn't have allowed him to get close enough to you to possibly get a picture, or you shouldn't have sent that to him. Granted, yes, but
Hugh granted, yes.
Hugh granted.
I know. It's such a shame because I feel like in sex ed conversations, right? Like when I've been in front of a group of high schoolers talking about, you know, sexting, because like here's like the safety conversation that we need to have when it comes to sexting. Honestly, the reality is like most people have sexted or will sext at some point. And so if you want to teach people to be safe, the thing that we say is make sure your face is not in the photo, like so that you are not associated in case something happens, and know that like you can't control the way in which someone
Uses
posts that
right.
or sends it to somebody. And so it's just, I don't know. I felt for Anna in this moment when she was like, you know, I did this like at a point where I needed money, and a lot of people do it and it's common, and someone was filming without my consent and it was posted everywhere.
Also his response to it, like he was kind, but he also was like, this will pass kind of thing.
Right.
Like this will go away. Like, I don't really know how much it goes away. Maybe in those days, because there wasn't social media, it's not as much out there for as long and people go on to the next person.
Mm-hmm.
But if that was an issue today, I wouldn't want somebody saying to me, oh, don't worry, it'll be gone. It's never going to be gone.
Totally. Yeah. And she even says, she's like, that newspaper will be filed away. And when someone asks questions about me, they are going to be noticing that and they're going to be talking about it. And how could he understand, right? Like he's just like a person who runs a travel bookshop. He doesn't know what her situation is like.
But that's why she likes him and doesn't like him. Because he's not in her world. And guess what? He's not in your world.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I mean, okay, we kind of said this in the beginning, but we love this movie though. Okay. So like we're talking about the issues that it has, but what do you think this movie does well? Like, is there something that you feel like, oh, this is kind of different than other rom-coms that we have seen?
Well, I think it does well in finding a roommate for him.
I love his character. Could you describe him, please, for people who haven't seen it?
He's like this gangly, tall, thin guy who doesn't know how to dress or act and it doesn't listen when anybody talks and just proclaims his silliness. Like he's sitting on someone's glasses and the guy goes, have you seen my glasses? Nope. And then he reaches under his butt and he pulls out the glasses like, oh, I've been sitting on them the whole time.
He's a buffoon.
He's a buffoon. But my favorite line that he had in the movie was somebody said, oh God, it just opened Pandora's box. And he said, I knew a girl at school named Pandora. Never did get to see her box though. My husband and I laughed so hard.
The writing in this movie is so good. And I looked it up and it is written by a man. I was kind of surprised. I feel like typically when I really relate to rom-coms, they're usually written by women.
Yeah.
And I feel like this one really just crushed it. I feel like there's so many pieces that work, and I think predominantly after doing 9 other episodes so far of Rom-Com Vom in our first kind of mini series section of this show, is that the power dynamic is fully in her favor in this movie, right? Yes. She is the famous one. She is the one who gets to pop in and out of his life. She is the one that gets to decide where they go, when they go, etc.
Except she didn't really like it when she popped in and he said, I'm going to have to say no on that.
I know. I know. After her whole speech, which is fair of him to say no, right? Like he got his heart broken multiple times. We didn't even mention this yet. She had a boyfriend.
Yes.
A-hole Alec Baldwin. And, obviously like he is portrayed to be an asshole, but he makes this one comment to her when he's coming to visit her in London. And it's so sad. Hugh Grant's character, William, comes in thinking that he's going to kiss her in her hotel room. And Alec Baldwin is there, the boyfriend. And Hugh Grant has to pretend to be the room service guy. So he has to take out their garbage, like adding insult to injury. And then Alec Baldwin's like, hey, Anna, do you know what you want to order? Don't overdo it because I don't want to be that actor with the fat girlfriend, right?
They purposely gave him that shitty line. Because not only is he an asshole looking and not only is he talking down to the help, they have to show how everything about him sucks.
Exactly.
So you have to believe why the hell is she with him? Right. Something's wrong with her.
Right. And so we can root for William, right? And so
they didn't need to put that in.
They didn't need to put that in. And mind you, I noticed there was one other comment. So when they were like later in the movie, when she's back in London in that like with all the horses, Horse and Hound magazine, by the way, hilarious,
very funny,
so funny. But she kind of tells this one actor like, oh yeah, that guy doesn't matter to me, but she's really just being discreet. But there's another comment that guy makes also portrayed to be an asshole, this actor who's on set with her being like, oh, that woman has 10 asses. It's enough for, make sure, whatever.
She's fat.
They just use kind of these like fat phobic lines to portray like what a jerk
Bad
people are.
Yeah.
But there's one more line where the sister later, to kind of make William feel a little better, the kooky sister says like, oh, I got to look at her when she was in the bathroom and there was cellulite down there, So it's just like it's kind of just like another little very 90s kind of
like that makes her
lines.
Not perfect. Don't worry.
Exactly.
But one thing, speaking of the sister, one thing I think the film did really well was introducing these characters of the family.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the sister had an accident, or I don't know if that was the friend.
I think it was a friend,
who had an accident. Like, there are people that are just still really fun and, eat dinner and do all kinds of normal things, but are sad because of their situation, but they can still have a normal life. And I like the way they all listen to each other's problems and things like that. However, I was thinking, do they really need to set him up with dates? You don't think Hugh Grant can get his own dates? I don't know.
Oh my God, you and I both. I just think he's so hot in that movie, especially with those little glasses. Ooh, boy, do I. For those of you who have been in a long-term relationship like me, listen up. I get emails all the time from couples asking how they can change things up and get their intimacy back after being together for 5, 10, 15 plus years. I was struggling for so long to give a legitimate recommendation I believed in until I found Aria. Aria is a service for couples that makes it easy to break out of routine, deepen emotional connection, and energize their relationship with curated experiences called scenes. You will also receive access to the Aria concierge, who's like your relationship's wingman, a real person who fills out your vibe and serves up spicy monthly experiences for two. Plus, hand-picked premium items delivered discreetly to your door. It's super simple to get started. Just take a short quiz about your relationship and the concierge will provide everything that you need to connect and play. Because adults need playtime too. Visit arya.fyi and use code SEXEDWITHDB for 15% off now. Here are my top 3 favorite things I love about Uberlube. Number 1, Uberlube makes sex feel a lot more pleasurable. It's as simple yet as powerful as that. Number 2, Uberlube is recommended by leading doctors, and its body-friendly ingredient list is widely used by people with sensitivities to lubricants. And number 3, Uberlube will not stain clothing or bedding. Any spills can be easily cleaned with detergent and water. Use code SEXEDWITHDB for 10% off at uberlube.com. It felt very genuine that he really, really liked her and really enjoyed her company and was this safe haven for her during this hard time. And yeah, I don't know. At the same time, I really feel for her because I'm sure people are just using her all the time. And, if the roommate was the one that mentioned that she was there and was the reason for all those paparazzi to come to the door.
One of the other parts that I loved, this is just such a dramatic, silly way that they did it. But as she left him and he's walking through Notting Hill and they make the seasons change.
I know.
It feels like he's walking through a whole year. Because you see it snow on him, then it's raining, then it's summer, and they're playing Ain't No Sunshine.
I know. I was surprised that I heard that song. I was like, this is a very popular song. I'm shocked that the movie got it. I don't know when.
Love that.
I love that song.
Watching the background of him just walking, he's sad. He's thinking about her. There's no sunshine when she's gone. It was just
it's a great scene.
Great.
It's a great scene. And there's so much fun British humor, self-hating British humor kind of peppered throughout this whole movie. And I think that is what makes William so charming, right? Is he's not presumptuous. He will kind of follow her lead. He just wants to see her whenever he can. She invited him to the hotel, but, presumably to check to see if he's okay after she kissed him, which is okay.
Which is so silly. Just wanted to see if you were okay. No, I'm not okay because a big movie star kissed me. I'm in a bad mood now.
I know. Obviously he has the biggest puppy dog love eyes for her. But like they're in front of other people and other people on her team. So he has to pretend like he's a journalist. And the first thing that comes to mind that he sees is a magazine called Horse and Hound. So he has to ask these questions about her in the way that, you know, are there any horses in the film that you're in? And how about hounds? Are readers like both species equally? It's very silly, very funny.
He does that really well, like pretending that he doesn't know what he's doing and like making things up.
I know. He's very good at it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the cringe corner, where we unpack the most devastatingly cringy moments in Notting Hill. Though, honestly, like we have been talking about, compared to some of the rom-coms that we have covered, aka Hello, Shallow Hell, Hitch, other movies
Those
that are
worse, way worse.
Way worse. This one is more kind of like awkward British charm rather than like a full body, we should burn these DVDs. So is there kind of one moment or kind of a character or, you know, I'll go first if you don't have one, if you're still thinking.
Well, I do have one that's just, it's not really about them being in love or that. It's when the roommate is walking away and you see his back and you
his tush
butt sticking out. And normally that doesn't bother me. Like, okay, whatever. It just was like, you know, that's
pretty gross.
Good. Yeah.
He is a gross character, I think. Okay, my cringe corner moment is just the entire kind of press conference scene, because, okay, so, you know, throughout the film, they see each other whenever she's in town. They're kind of falling in and out of love, all of these things. That the kind of like culminating moment where he's going to get her back, right? After he denied her in the bookshop, after she gives that speech, is he is again pretending to be a journalist and is asking her basically if he can have another chance. And the thing that feels cringy about this is, and like a little confusing, is like, she just got super pissed at him a little while back for the paparazzi showing up at the door, and she wants her privacy, right? Clearly, this is not the same. Like, she is being outed as like someone who is dating him. And I feel like it's very incongruent with like her character earlier on, who like really wanted privacy, versus later in this press conference where it becomes all about him and their relationship. And it's like the classic grand gesture to get the girl back. What do you think about that?
Well, I also feel like, I don't think she ever really dumped the boyfriend. It didn't seem like that the whole time that she was going up and back. Like, it seemed like he was still a part of it, and she was thinking about that. And like, that's not a good person to do that.
I know that part is pretty cringy. Like, she is cheating on him. He does seem like an ass. How are we to kind of mitigate this?
Yeah, like, what is she getting out of that relationship? Was he a famous actor? Who was he?
I think he was, because he even, when he says the fat phobic thing, he's like, I don't want to be that actor with the fat girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, cringy.
Pretty cringy. But again, like, we're kind of grasping here, because overall, like, this movie is great. But coming up, our modern remake pitch for what we would rewrite about this film, and final ratings after the break. We talk a lot about sex education, but when I'm shopping for products to support my sexual wellness, exploration, and expression, I head to the experts at Lion's Den. Lion's Den is a pleasure product retailer with over 50 locations nationwide and hundreds of your favorite brands. They have everything you need to explore and express your sexual side. Right now, you can use code SEXEDWITHDB for 15% off your purchase in-store and online at lionsden.com. Follow them on social media at Lions Den Adult on Instagram and TikTok for exclusive offers, deals, and giveaways. When you think about the words pleasure and power, what comes to mind? If you're a fan, you know my answer will always be the magic wand. But what if I told you the magic wand could fit in the palm of your hand? Say hello to the Magic Wand Micro. The Magic Wand Micro may make you wonder how it can possibly represent a brand renowned for power. But once you turn it on, this impossibly powerful, multi-function, multi-speed massager proves it's a magic wand through and through. Same magic, now in pocket size. Use code SEXEDWITHDB at Lion's Den for 15% off your Magic Wand Micro now. Let's talk about lube and condoms. Something important to know is that oil-based lube is not to be used with condoms because the oil can cause the condom to break or tear, which would defeat the purpose of using it. Thank goodness for Uberlube. Uberlube is latex compatible, so it's safe and effective to use with condoms. But wait, there's more. Dispensing 2 drops of Uberlube inside a condom and a measured pump outside will increase pleasure. What are you waiting for? Use code SEXEDWITHDB for 10% off at uberlube.com. And we're back. Okay, so Mom, we do this thing every Rom-Com Vom episode where we rewrite the script. And so if there is a character or a moment or a plot line, how would you rewrite one of those things? And how would you retell that story of Notting Hill today in 2025?
Well, I kind of felt like even though it went on over a long time, it didn't seem to me like they ever spent much time together. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, they love it. It's almost like love at first sight, kind of.
Exactly.
And then you only really saw them in bed, I think, once, right? I think it was nice that, it was like an hour and a half into the movie before they even ever kissed. So I feel like I would have liked a lot more build up, like some romantic scenes at the beginning. And then she goes and comes back. Maybe he goes to visit her in the States, realizes, he doesn't really belong there. Then she comes back, more of that
complexity
to build up to more of like, now I see that we really love each other, because to all of a sudden see her at the end, she's pregnant. It seemed like that's pretty whirlwind. Like somebody still might wake up and go, "Oh, this was a big mistake."
Yes. I completely agree. I feel like so would you put those scenes kind of in between when he kind of, declares his love for her at the press conference and then like have more time where we actually see them together getting to know each other
and actually spend time together? Because to do
skip
that
to
in
the
front
end
of all those people,
I know.
It's like, oh, now I get that you love me. No, that's not the place or the time. He could say it then, but then show us now how their relationship evolves, right?
I like that. And I feel like we really got to see that in like basically just one scene of them running lines together.
Yep.
Like that scene where they're on the roof and he's like helping her run lines and he's kind of saying like, oh, it's not, not prestigious, like he kind of calls her out for the bad movies that she's doing.
Mistakes on that,
yeah. Well, he says you made a lot of mistakes, and then he's also saying that the quality of these films is kind of crap, and he's kind of challenging her a little bit in his cheekiness.
I agree with him.
Exactly. I'm echoing what you were saying before, and he's kind of saying like, hey, like I think you could,
hold
do
out
better.
For something better, right?
Yeah. And I feel like we're really seeing their personalities in that scene. And I wish there was more of that.
More of that. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to hear your final rating of this film, given everything that we've talked about. We love this movie. There are a few things that we got into today. What would you rate this film?
I have to move it from my like nothing ick to a little ick. So a 2.
You would rate it a 2?
Yeah. That whole last thing could have been so much better. There could have been so many. I mean, I'm not a writer of movies, but what are better lines she could have said instead of "I'm just a girl"?
That's what you would rewrite. You would rewrite that line.
Yeah.
Should we workshop it? Would the line instead be something like, "I know I'm who I am and have this kind of life, but I want you to be with me," or something that kind of shows.
I want my life to be with you.
Yes,
because she's moving. She left that life, right?
Right. She moved with him.
And the thing is, if she's going to say something like that, they have to show us how she proves it. And they did. They got married and she had a baby, and they're in London. She's not an actress anymore.
Right.
I mean, and I don't think necessarily women have to give up what they like to do to be with a man. So that's another kind of question. But if that's what she wanted, she could have put it that way. I want you in my life more than I want to go back to that. That would have been better than the "I'm just a girl," because she's not.
Mom, that's the rewrite. That's what this whole thing is all about.
It's good that there's not that many notes we have to give.
That's true, which is why, crazily enough, I've never done this for a film. I'm going to rate it 0. We have covered some crazy movies in this series, and we will cover a lot of crazier ones that I will rate higher. But for that reason, I'm comparing it to everything else. Shallow Hal was a 5. This is a 0. And if you want to hear those trivia teaser deets from the beginning of the episode, here they are. So turns out filming with Hugh Grant in London was basically impossible during normal hours since crowds would form instantly. And the crew had to hide cameras in vans and film before dawn just to get their shots. But when they tried filming one scene at the Portobello Road Market that we were talking about earlier with proper permits, over 5,000 people showed up to see Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts shutting down the entire market and almost getting the production banned from the neighborhood. So it really speaks to the level of stardom for both Hugh Grant and J-Rob at this time.
And you know what? They're still big stars that could probably command that kind of an audience.
Oh my God. What if they made a remake? Do you think they would ever do that? Or like a sequel?
Notting Hill 2.
Notting Hill 2. Okay, so before we let you go, I want to share next week's trivia teaser. Next week, we're diving into a film that almost tanked a studio's entire comedy division because test audiences said the main character's friends were, quote, too cruel to watch until a last-minute rewrite changed everything. If you, listener, gorgeous listener, have a rom-com that you remember from growing up that you want us to review, submit it by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and leaving a comment on Spotify. Mom, thank you so much for being here. We did it.
It was fun. So much fun.
Our creator, host, and executive producer is me, Danielle Bezalel, aka DB. Our producer is Sadie Leegee. Our communications lead is Catherine Cohen. Our marketing coordinator is Alex Bateman. Our music theme is by Hook Sounds. Thanks so much to our featured guests, partners, and listeners. If you have a rom-com you remember from growing up and want us to cover it on Rom-Com Vom, submit it to us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and leaving a comment on Spotify. Want to partner with us? Email us at sexedwithDB@gmail.com. For more sex ed content, follow us on Instagram @sexedwithdbpodcast. See you next time.